TruthSeekah and/or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and/or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah Podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark's at it!
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark's at it stuff!
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? I'm TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah Podcast. I'm excited and delighted to be with you guys today. Shout out to everybody holding us down live in the chat room. Chat room filling up right now. So shout out to everybody holding us down live. Shout out to everybody listening on their podcasting apps. And so we got a good interview for you guys today. I'm excited about this one. We're going to be speaking with Jill Mattson about the power of music, supernatural power of music, and creating spiritual encounter by listening to music. And so I think we've covered this subject a lot, but there's so many different ways to approach it, and it gets deeper and deeper the more you study music and the power that it has upon your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, understanding the power of mantra, repetition. Repetition reduces resistance. The more and more you hear something over and over, the more you begin to believe it or agree with it. And we see a lot of people with the mantras and being able to chant things over and over. So repetition reduces resistance, and you're 30% likely to remember something if you hear it. 70% likely if you repeat it. So if you're listening to music, or if you're listening to, if you're doing chanting or just repeating what someone says, 70% more likely if you repeat it and say it. So that's the power of music we're going to be talking about, speaking about the beauty of music. And people are telling me there's an echo here. Check. You guys hearing double or 1 2 2 2? I don't know if I'm coming back out of Jill's end of your speakers. I don't know if you can maybe turn your speaker down just a little, Jill. Maybe I'm coming back through. Okay, they said it's gone now. Check. 1 2. All right, great. So I want to give a quick shout out to everyone supporting on Patreon. All the new supporters we have now, give a quick shout out to Jesse Lee. Thank you for coming on. Nar Martinez, which is Pastor Nar, thank you so much for supporting my work. Cache Milan, been supporting for some years now. Thank you for coming on and joining Patreon. Ricky Jefferson, thank you guys, man. It means a lot. So if you want to support my show, support the podcast, my music, and everything that I bring to the table, head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah, and there you can sign up for any level of giving and get access to a bunch of really cool stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on my guest today. This is Miss Jill Mattson. Jill, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Good, and thank you for having me here.
Oh, great. I've been looking for this. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while. Something that's very near and dear to my heart is music, is spirituality. So, when it comes to like talking about the power of music, when it comes to talking about just the power of mantra, like we're talking about, music itself is one thing, and then we're combining words and messages and intention into the music. I know you cover this a lot with your work as well, so I think it's going to be a really good discussion today. So again, welcome to the show. If you want to give a little bit about your background, what you do, where you come from, for people who haven't heard of your work, that'd be an awesome place to start.
Alrighty. I've studied the impact of sound on your physical body, your emotional body, your mental, your brain waves, sound, how it impacts your digestion, your skin, and also ancient practices from legends coming out of South America and Central America on Lemurian Atlantis to musical legends of ancient Egypt, China, ancient Hindus, the Greeks, all across the Indians, all across the globe. Up until maybe, 500 years ago, music was understood to be medicine, to alter your personality. It was considered with the spiritualists the fastest way to achieve enlightenment and to alter your personality. In some of these countries like Africa, music would be used as rehab for criminals, to kind of like get in repeats and restructure their habits. In many cultures, music, like ancient Egypt, they would have music for occupation. So it was a work-related thing. So you would have music, let's say, for the sailors, for maybe rowing harder, for not being afraid of a storm. You would train young people very early if they're going to be warriors, and have warrior-like music to make them more ferocious and to scare your enemies. Music was used to lift rocks, to build. Music was used to connect with spirits and guides, to have communications with otherworldly beings. And I've spent my lifetime learning about this. And my website, jillswingsoflight.com, I have a lot of the stuff, but I've got 3 books out, and one is on sound to change your brainwaves, your thoughts, your feelings, your relationships, your energy, to go to sleep, to wake up, that's ancient sounds. Another book, Secret Sounds, is on sound in your body, how to look at your digestion, a disease that science can't touch, really anything, even your emotions, and see, the tones of your personality or your body, and start to alter them, not through chemistry or biology, but through audiology. The final book is Lost Waves of Time. And this one starts with legends of the music in ancient cultures and goes right into written history, archaeology, anthropology, etc., and science, particularly quantum physics, into how the music, like the ancient Chinese, sculpt their personality, their nation, their achievements, their downfalls. And then we'll just move into ancient Egypt. How were they using music? How were they using magic words? How were they curing disease with spells, which are a large component is sound and words and music. So what was the math and science? And I go right on up to present, and I have some really cool ancient secrets, or we could go into math and science. Each culture approached it different. The Hindus got into the rhythms, very powerful, whereas the Chinese were into tones and harmonics. So you'll find different tools of music can be used to alter who you are. And you ingest sound, that's a fact. You can be shown that scientifically. You ingest sound, period. So it's something that we just haven't observed its impact, because it's subtle, means small, and it comes on little by little, but very steady. Just a quick analogy, and then I'll get the conversation going, is think of the Grand Canyon and think that the water is soft and goes over the rocks, and it seems like the rocks roll when you're looking at the Colorado River. But if you look up at the Grand Canyon, you see the water rolls because the canyon was carved by the water over time. It was the continuous impact that was so significant. And that is exactly what music is, that continuous impact. There you have it.
That's awesome. It's beautiful too. It's just, you know what I'm saying, the way that music has an impact on our body, on our spirituality, our spiritual life, without even knowing it. I think the majority of people don't even know what's happening when they listen to. They just know it's pleasing to their carnal bodies. It makes them feel good. It reminds them of someone or something like that. But to really understand what's taking place within that, the power that the person who is singing over you or speaking over you has with the music going on, putting you in like hypnotic states of consciousness and things like that. We look at, when you mention in some of these other cultures, I come out of evangelical Christianity, so there's there's a lot of subjects to touch on when it comes to music. But when we look at the Hebraic understanding of it, we see the prophets of the Old Testament, and they had the school of the prophets, and they would always have music with them. They would always bring, they would always have instruments and playing psalms and songs and singing to their creator and connecting and stuff like that. Pythagoras and his sect, his belief, they always started off the day with singing praises to God or towards the sun, and ending each day with these praises and songs, and they really believed in music as well. So looking at that, you spoke about the rhythm coming from the church realm. Some of them were really taboo when it came to rhythm. They would say that it was certain tones and certain rhythms that you couldn't play that were offbeat, that would summon demons, or and I think a lot of this is superstition because I don't think they really understand it, but they would, if you played off beats or fast beats, they wouldn't have that in their church, and a lot of churches will not let you have drums within their church because of those rhythms.
Well, let me say first on the pitches, and then second I'll address the rhythms. In the ancient world, they believed that to be a better person meant you fill up, quicken, the Bible would say, you fill up with light, higher energies, and that this was most powerfully done through music. And the biggest thumbprint that God's left is nature. And they had a different idea of mathematics than we do. Mathematics for arithmetic or counting like we do, they would consider the low form of mathematics. But at any rate, they had a way of mathematics of building blocks and shapes. And they would come up with a number pattern, say the Fibonacci pattern of numbers, which when using their little mathematics methods, produces the spiral found in the galaxy or in a beehive. At least 10,000 times you find it in your own body. So Mother Nature, both heaven and earth, uses certain number patterns in its geometry. When you look at the forms, it's not all creative. It might look that way, but it boils down to very similar number patterns. These number patterns were always used as cycles per second, and they were their musical scales. In ancient times, from the Chinese emperor to Egypt with their Baknama, and the Hindus, the Greeks, they're all using number patterns in nature found to make their musical scale. We don't even hear these anymore. I have them in my Paint Your Soul CD, but they're gone from the planet for the most part. And what they would do is that they would tune to God's handiwork, to God's thumbprint. And they had like the solfeggio tones is a really, with using some of their methods, comes into a 369 power. Tesla and Kepler talk about it more like a powerful force. So my analogy, my easy way of trying to think of it for me is like, if God were creating the world with an Etch-a-Sketch, you know, it's a toy where you can make a straight line or a curved line. The straight line would be the Fibonacci. The curved line would be the got it backwards. The straight line would be the solfeggio, where the curved lines would be the Fibonacci. And if you look at just this pattern, again, they're all derived from nature. In the Fibonacci, for example, if you divide two neighbor numbers, you come up with phi. And if people saw Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code and you see the star, 5-pointed stars, it's a phi machine. Nature's full of phi. Your body's full of phi. It's a staple in our world. And all ancient music would emulate this to be one with God. So think of the Catholic Church, let's say 300 AD, and their competition is this old Sumerian mysteries, ancient Egypt and her mysteries, the Druids and their mysteries, and Greece. All using music, all using phi in music. And many of the cults or sects, like the Bacchus sects, they'll use a frenzy beat to get into a state of hysteria, to kind of leave your consciousness kind of a thing. So they're all using music God.
Yeah.
And so what the Catholic Church does is they call it music diabolus. It's still in the records. You can read it. It's still in writing. That any interval that equates to phi or the Fibonacci of this beautiful curve was music of the devil. And you were excommunicated. You were done for if you touched it. And the solfeggio is a phi-less scale, and that was used for their healing, for their high masses. So even today, like if you see a funeral and you see them with the Pope dies, they have like a stick with crosses on it with little bells. That's going to be your solfeggio. And so they kind of outlawed music. In the early Gregorian chants, the early Catholic Church, Gregorian chant is not on our scale today. It's not like our music. Think of wind chimes. It has no beginning, no end, no phis, which is in our musical scale that we listen today on one note. And there was only one voice with no accompaniment. So they went from the vast use of music to heal your body, to get you closer to God, to change your personality, to total silence, like a vacuum, like a void, save one voice. It's called plain chant or Gregorian chant. And it's just kind of funny because I think in the void, gestation begins. They almost outlawed music. And yeah, they were against fast rhythms. And yeah, they were against any use of music to copy the natural world. It was competition.
Yeah, they understood that, especially with the big cathedrals that would just echo and reverberate music and you know what I'm saying, the organs through the halls and, listening to the
people who designed the cathedrals, however, were in many ways rebelling against the church because the cathedrals are full of phi. The cathedrals, they took the numbers used in the musical scales of the ancients, all this ancient wisdom to use sound intervals in music to alter, uplift, heal, bless, change, it's a number pattern underneath the cycles per second. And you'll find those number patterns rampant in all of the old cathedrals. So they hid the knowledge that was forbidden in plain sight in the ancient cathedrals throughout Europe.
When it comes to the cathedrals, when it comes to even your, a lot of modern day churches, we see the obelisk right over the pulpit or right over where the musicians are. It's been said that that's, the steeple, the obelisk was a way to channel energy from the ethers whenever they're performing or sending out the music as well. Have you done any study on that, on the obelisk when it comes to the churches?
Well, yes. In fact, think too, most early churches have steeples. It's if you will, it's a form of an obelisk. Think of an antenna. And when you look at the churches in Europe, you'll find that not only do they have antenna or steeples, but they also have water. They're on the crossing of underground waterways, and they all have what they call a black virgin, which is a well, and it goes deep underneath into the stream. So that the people singing and loving, hopefully, these two combinations of these frequencies. Sound picks up other frequencies of like value, so that they could channel their love, their praise, their glory up into the sky through the steeples, and then down deep into Mother Earth, and to travel on the water to nourish, spiritually uplift the soil and a larger geographic area.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, music was absolutely critical, because they would be performing in between these antennas up and down.
Yep. It's beautiful, and there's like all types of that music in the churches and stuff. So they do, whether it's the fast music or the slow, soft synth mantra music or whatever, just singing over and over, and they go into those trance states, and they don't even know they're practicing like ancient mysticism when they do that. They think that it's something privy just to the church members, and this is our thing, but it's something that goes back thousands of years, that was practiced by every culture, about entering trance state through religious ceremony by using music. A lot of people in the Southern Black church, they have this thing called the praise break, and it's just so almost out of nowhere they get on the drums and they start playing really fast. It's almost like a double time beat. And they get the stomping, they get the clapping, they get the shouting. They'll start running around the churches. They'll fall out, catch the Holy Spirit. And something happens when that music comes on and they, get in the Holy Spirit, or they get that quickening or whatever. And when that music changes, they control the flow, the ebb and flow of the service. It's really interesting. And I've been a part of some of them. And it's really, really interesting to watch the charismatic churches do that and get in the spirit behind the music. It's really, really awesome to see.
Yeah, that is exciting. The Egyptians, another thing that we haven't talked about that was done throughout all ancient societies was harmonics, meaning an after ripple of sound. If you drop a rock into a river, you see like a hole for the rock, and then you see little circles coming out. Well, they're going to come out in mathematical patterns, and that can be likened to harmonics. You have a sound, and then it has a little after ripple, and it goes up mathematically according to a formula. If you look at the cycles per second of the items in a chemical formula that represents your digestion, so if you look at the math of the frequencies involved in digestion, it's a harmonic chain. Your body's full of harmonics. The universe runs on harmonics, and energy transfers on the same frequency. So many of the ancient religions did altering and uplifting on vowels, because
Hello, Jill, are you
go
there?
up
Okay.
into the higher harmonics. And through like Theosophy, the Great White Brotherhood, through ancient pharaohs, through Pythagoras, they would use this vow chant. It just, again, it's something they would find in nature and copy. And it's, I can do it for you. Let me think of them. A-R-O. And they would chant this, and they would do it like in a tertiary beat. And it was called the vow chant for the pharaoh to pass to the highest realms. And so they would use the different vowels or harmonics as another tool. So there you see, we've talked about rhythm, we've talked about pitches, you get harmonics, and mathematics occurs with intervals, 2 notes played at the same time as well. And of course you can, Lao Tzu, 3,000 years before Christ, is talking about the interval of the musical fifth and how the 2 intervals at the time, how they're harmonic, combine and produce energy. And they do. You can go to, I'm trying to think of this website's name. It's in my ancient sound book, but there's Harold Moses produces what he calls drones. He uses a musical fifth. He takes off the bottom note and he just uses the echo, the harmonics. And you can listen to this and it energizes you. And it's such a low tone, you don't even know it's lower than the hum of your refrigerator. And it can energize you. And if you turn it off, it just feels like you just kind of like you're a puppet, a lifeless puppet. And again, that's from Lao Tzu.
So when you're listening to this music, does everything go back to the Fibonacci? Like if we look at that spiral, it's throughout nature, it's the planets, it's in our DNA, rhythm. Like there's something within us when we hear that rhythm, and it has to be in like the even numbers of the rhythm. Then you could just feel it. A lot of times listening to music, you know when it's going to change because you can instinctively feel it, and it's usually when you're on maybe an 8 count or whatever, or if we're counting on like a metronome, you can feel it, versus if it was to be an odd number or something different, it would maybe put us out of orientation. But we can feel it when it's when that rhythm is on that perfect metronome. Is that something that's just encoded deep within our DNA?
Okay, the Fibonacci, yes, it is in our DNA because that spiral form uses that same mathematics. But it's almost like, to me, I think that the music of the universe is a little bit more like a Rubik's Cube with different facets and different ways of lining up. So the people I think that did the most fabulous stuff on rhythms is the ancient Hindus. We have 4/4, 8/4, 3/4. They had 120 different patterns. Some of their rhythm patterns, would take 5 minutes to go through the pattern they would repeat.
Wow.
And then it would be very, very intricate, and they would literally go into nature, and if they wanted to energize or be fast, they would copy horses running or anything that nature deemed as fast. That rhythm pattern then is incorporated into their music. And then, so they were using rhythm almost like pitches. And think of the car going down the street with the deep bass subwoofers, and it shakes your bones. Well, it does shake your bones because they're the same frequency and energy transfers, but you can feel the pulsing of the low cycle per second. It goes long, long, long. So you're counting it. 1, 2, there's a rhythm, there's numbers. And so rhythm, so pitch is in rhythm. And then if you think about a drum beat, bum, 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 pitch is involved again. So it's kind of like pitches and rhythms interact. They have relationships. And my way of mathematically looking at music is that you can heal with rhythm, you can heal with pitches, and you can heal with both of them. And that's what ancient people did. That's what magic is. It's quantum energy management. That's what all of the Egyptian temples that people, rich people that could afford it, traveled all over the world to go to their healing temples because they worked. And they would get quantum energy, they build it up because energy does alter you. You can use energy to heal your bone faster, but you need to listen quite a bit. And I have music with vitamins on it. I have music tightening the muscles in your body. But it's like each time you listen, you get a dosage. And so what the ancient people would do is they'd use a dosage of music, a dosage of rhythm, a dosage of pitch, a dosage of harmonics. And then they would add a dosage of fragrance, maybe eat this, do an action which creates a frequency. And they were very precise in their actions. Dance replicated the Fibonacci numbers and feelings. And so they would just keep say you're a jar and you need a healing tone or pattern to fix yourself, to get back to balance. They just keep dropping that healing dosage in as many ways as quickly as they can to get the biggest dosage to alter matter. Sound, you can look at it. A slight sound comes right in and lifts up your skin. I got that on one of my CDs, and muscles. They're soft. Now, if you're going to start to change your bone, which can be done, you can go to an orthopedic surgeon, many of whom will give you a little box. It's just the frequency of your bone. You listen to it, and your healing's much less time. So you can use for harder matter, but it takes longer. You need more quantity. So something we don't even think about is dosage. But it was front and central in ancient music healing.
Speaking about the sound, and I know you talk about the notes. There's a certain color of a vibration of a frequency. I mean, sound is vibration, light is vibration, thought, everything is vibration and energy. And so there's colors that correlate with that note that we use within the music. And so to really get the strong effect, you're talking about adding, like, coupling all these things that actually go together. And even the light or the font, color of font you would use for an album cover, or even like the light that I have projecting behind me, these type of things, they come with a vibration, but a feeling as well. Like, you can feel the vibration. We feel the vibe of the room change. You can feel that vibration. And it has to do with color. So is that how we would get the full effect of the healing for that note that's being played, whether it's the 432, we're tuning to that, getting with that frequency and the colors that actually come along with that?
Yes, absolutely. I have a CD called Contacting Angels and Masters, and the ancients way would define healing in terms of the rays, which oversimplification means the color rays. And so you'll find that, like red, you can count the cycles per second of light. That's math. And if you take that down musical octaves, which is done just by dividing it in half, you'll see that the musical note is C and red correspond. And that's a colored light. And in this music, what I've done is because digital music goes up and down, I've taken music and put it in the key signature of red and orange and yellow, the rainbow colors. And then I channel angels and masters. So I put in like the pink masters and angels under the music in pink. And then I go into orange, think of your Dalai Lama, think of your Hindu masters. They usually come in an orange. So I'm channeling them. And then I put in the music and then the harmonics of orange and the harmonious notes of orange. And then I go through the rainbow. So color is exactly the same frequency. And let me also say that within the body mathematics, that there's two formulas that can be healing, because colored light math is a little different than opaque colored math, and they both have benefits if used properly. But that's a side point. Going back to the colors, you'll find that your emotions or things can be counted, have been in ancient times. With the software from Bioacoustics, Sherry Edwards, you can see in my Secret Sounds Ultimate Healing book that you can measure your emotions as well as anything else, and they're going to line up to colored lights. So I tend to be a very soft person. I line up blue, go figure. And I have healing flower symphonies where we'll go into a certain emotion, copy it with a musical note, and then I'm using Pythagoras' catharsis. So you take out the negative end, so you can take out your anger and then put in something else that's the same frequency, like unconditional love. And, I have these healing flower symphonies where I'm taking off the Greek idea. You can take off the negative emotions and then put in the positive. So you can look at healing your physical body, your emotional body, your spirituality, in terms of colors, in terms of pitches. And I like to think of enlightenment as health. It's white light. It's got equal amounts. It's got representatives, healthy representatives of every color, of every note, mastery of all your physicality. All of that is simply saying enlightenment. And the ancients did that primarily through sound. The Hindu masters would do it also through sight. So that you look at a yantra, sacred geometry, and they would say, if you spend most of your life looking at this pattern, this drawing, you'll achieve enlightenment in one life. If you don't, that's okay too, but it'll take you maybe 800 lives to give you an idea of the potency of looking and spending time with sacred geometry. Well, you can look at that yantra, or you can listen to it as well. It's all math, it's all sounds. And if you see from that example how powerful sight can be, then know that music is even more powerful. we just don't pay attention or have the consciousness to sculpt what we need to listen to for health on any level we choose.
2 questions. Is white light the highest vibration? Because I think most people just say, instead of breaking down the colors, they just say envision white light, send white light, envision white light. Is white light the highest color or the highest vibration? First question. Second question, is there a chart that will let us know? Do you have a chart, or maybe it's in your books for some of us who don't have as much info on it, on which color brings the emotion or does the healing, to actually break it down? Most of us, this isn't common knowledge for a lot of us.
Yes, it is in, I think it's in my Secret Sounds book. And I think, I'm not sure about this, but if you look at nanovoice.org, this is the work of Sherry Edwards. The chart that I have is her mathematics. And her other site would be soundhealthoptions.org or net, and look for the Nano Voice. The Nano Voice is a free software program that'll break your holographic voice, everything in your body's holographic, into component pitches or colors. And when you download that software, there's a little tab that you can download a chart that would correspond body parts, body processes with colors, with notes, with emotions. It's also found in my Secret Sounds book, or very inexpensively, if you do my Contacting Angels and Masters CD, I teach about this, and then I demonstrate it, and then I combine the angelic essence and energy, which is holographic, which you can channel, which you can recognize, which is right on the tracks to absorb. So there's 3 ways to get it.
Good stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of people leaving comments, and you're blowing everybody away. This is really a breath of fresh air to have you on. When it comes to healing, it comes to the light. So someone mentioned in the comment, they said that white light combines all colors. So white light would be all colors combined. Is that good? Okay. Another person was.
God is the alpha and the omega. See, because opaque colors combine and form black. So think of the void as maybe gestation. Some of the body mathematics for healing will follow the mathematics for colored lights, slightly different. I mean, for opaque paints is slightly different than that of colored light. And they're both very healing. And to get a whiff of how these ancient people were so sophisticated, they had musical scales for colored light, for white light, and for opaque light as well. How cool is that? This is 4,000 and 5,000 years ago. They're doing.
Somebody mentioned it was Adam Starseed in the chat. He mentioned the coat of many colors worn by, I think it was Joseph in the Bible, so being symbolic of the rainbow and the color healing as well, coming back to heal his family and bring forth provision for them. That's beautiful. Let me ask you this. So someone wanted to know if you play music, what instruments do you play?
I play, my best instrument is violin, and I played since I've been big. I play piano, I do the vocals, I do a couple other instruments. On my music, it's like new agey classical. I don't know, I must have had a past life as a classical musician, because I was no training. I just born knowing how to write a symphony. And so I play all the parts. Some of them are done with synthesizers. My sister does the cello. She's quite a beautiful cellist. But most of the instruments I've done either live or synthesized. So I write my music and I perform all the parts, and I pretty much mix it. And then I channel in the silent tracks.
When it comes to, like I said, I've approached a lot of stuff from like the Hebraic tradition. That's just what I'm trained in. We talk about the psalmists, the prophets. And so King David and the stringed instruments. And it's so beautiful to look at, like, I'm sure you're familiar with the story of King David having his harp, his stringed instrument, playing it before King Saul, who was tormented by evil spirits. And when King David would play, the evil spirits would subside and peace would come and the spirits would leave. So he would have beckon David to come to play the music so the evil spirits would leave and he would receive peace and things like that. Coming from the aspect and realm of a psalmist, understanding like that there's power in the music. We've been discussing that this whole episode. There's power in the music, and there's power, something that you've talked about in some other lectures and discussions you've done, with the intention with it. So creating the music or creating anything really, and that higher vibration or lower vibration or whatever you're going through at the time when you create something, whether it's an artwork, a painting, a song or whatever. You even talked about, I think it was knitting some pajamas for someone. And if you created it and birthed it and it has that energy encoded in it, being able to impart energy as a psalmist, someone who is able to grab that stringed instrument and play and have an idea or that peace or that healing or whatever, to want to transmit that with the stringed instrument, with their intention lining up together, is the biblical look of a psalmist. And I've been in services where, and I don't know if you've seen this at all, because I know you do a lot of settings and stuff where you play the music, where you had that intention, you want healing to come forth, you want new life, rebirth, these things where people are going through trauma, healing childhood wounds and trauma just by the music, and you sending that forth. I've seen people weep and cry and having encounters with the divine just because of that music being played as a psalmist. You have any experience with that, or just seeing people encounter healing themselves just through the music and the impartation of that vibration or healing?
Absolutely. Think that we all have a voice, and our voice is composed, and it goes to our vagus nerve, which hits pretty much every part of your body. Your voice is holographic, and it vibrates every frequency in your whole body. Now, our conscious mind is only maybe a piece of who we are. So there's also a subconscious mind, which gets added into our own music, unbeknownst to us. I like the idea that I found from the Yellow Emperor and the early Chinese stuff. These very evolved beings would pray, become pure, work on their personality, their purity of thought, their love. This was the Hebrew thing, is to go through the alphabet and say A, P, and get in the habit of everything coming out of your mouth being patched with love, so that your voice is a healing tool. And so these Chinese people would look at their purity, their sincerity, their love, and their different qualities in terms of their conscious, and doing it long enough to make a habit to start to work, because the habits will work in your unconscious mind. So they're the biggest packet of light before they would even touch an instrument. So you would go through maybe years of training of purification before you'd begin to learn music, because not only does your intent, but also who it is that you are transfers on your voice as well as your music. And when you find that the people I found that did the most with emotions was the Pythagoreans. They're greatly into mental health and curing everything through mental health. So the future of their country is going to be by people with virtue. And so they're going to play virtue in their music. And in some people, like if you're terrified, you get PTSD, like playing Yankee Doodle Dandy to kind of get you all brave ain't going to work. It's like you have to pull out the fear, the terror. And that's done with somewhat similar music. And I have healing flower symphonies. I do that. And then I put in the frequency of a flower, a matching flower, and a matching flower remedy. But I'm doing the same thing where you can pull out the negative stuff. And tears are it's like opening a porthole, a gateway to allow your unconscious, all these pains from childhood, from people you live with. You're not separate energetically from people in your space, from the place you live with, from a physical accident. All these things can be into your body, and we usually stuff them so that we're not conscious, so we don't feel the pain and we lose the joy, because we kind of numb both pain and joy at the same time. And so they would use music in to make people cry, to kind of like open the floodgates, maybe flush your negative emotions. And then they would use the not only the uplifting frequencies, and many musicians, myself included, I channel when I play. I can feel someone coming in the back. It's very slight. In fact, I have to go to pressure on my kidneys. But at any rate, so I can feel when I get inspirited and I get a little support. So, and I think all musicians do that. I don't think I'm special. I just a matter of how conscious you are of being inspirited. And so, you know, when you're talking about spiritual healing with music, you're talking about the being who's the musician, the intent, which is an emotion. And if you have ill intent, there's not going to be any healing in that music. But you can do a lot of negative music if you have positive intention, and then take out. That's kind of like inviting someone else's negative music, negative emotions to transform. So you can use music for catharsis, and you can use music to bring in higher energies, joy. And I believe that I channel stuff so much better than who it is that I am.
Yeah.
You know, we're just antennae. Musicians are everybody is, but especially artists and musicians. And so all those ways are a way to alter you and heal everybody in close proximity.
I heard you give the analogy of the potato sack with holes in it, and so when you get the healing, or you're trying to walk in a higher vibration, or receive light, or hold water, it's kind of hard to do. We have to patch up those holes first, right?
Yes. I don't know a person that doesn't have a lot of pain, that doesn't have childhood stories, that doesn't have physical stories. Live with someone who has problems, auto accidents, problems at work, abuse. So, and for those who believe in past lives, think about that. Or if you live in a place like, let's say you live near Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, all those people died and left that negativity in that ground. You feel it.
Yeah.
So we get this incredible spring of negativity, and it's like we need fed a lot. And we can put music on in the background. We can sleep with it. Low vibe is very fine. It's healthy for your body. You get little tiny cell-to-cell transfer, like on your arm or in your skin. There's different ways you ingest sound.
Is that something to do with the goosebumps we get, or we feel the Holy Spirit? You feel that sensation. I'm getting it now talking about it, but you feel, you get the goosebumps when you feel that something you connect with or touches you on that soul level. I'm feeling it right now, even as I'm talking about it. It's awesome.
I believe, this is just my belief, that all of us, we're much greater than we think we are. And our physical body has intelligence. So your physical body knows it needs, let's say, the musical note C. In other words, your physical body knows it needs a certain nutrient that may be found in a cherry, for example. And if I really need that for health, I'm going to love cherries. It's like the way my body, smarter than me, that I don't even know how that kind of plays me, is by what I like. So if I'm like if you play music for me, you play Moonlight Sonata, and I love classical music. So you play Moonlight Sonata for me in 3 different keys, and I'm always low on the musical note D. My friends are almost always the musical note D. I'm attracted to that. I live in that because it takes my blue and it's kind of like balances it, because it's like a seesaw. If I have too much blue, I don't have enough orange. And so for health, I'm always needing orange. And so if you were to play Moonlight Sonata and you have one in the key signature D or orange, I'm going to like it. And because I've been trained in music, I'll probably give myself a pile of BS. I'll say, I like that because this. If I had music training, and I have, but the truth of the matter is that none of that's true. I like that because my body says it's healing for me. And what may be healing for me may not be healing for you. Maybe you need the musical note A, so you just look at me and say, well, I don't know about that. So our body has a way of communicating, and the goosebumps, the joy, the I like that, all that is your body's way of saying, yeah.
That's awesome. When it comes to like imparting something within the music or trapping a feeling, and it's really awesome in music, especially when you're able to record it. You can give it out. Hey, you want a spiritual encounter? I've enclosed it within this CD, and that's kind of like what I've done with my music, and like the places that I've been spiritually, enlightenment, love, these places I've wrote these songs and put them into the music. And we've also went in and recorded mantras but turned them down, and prayers and things. So when you're listening, like to say you can't hear it, but you can feel it. Like you can feel the mantras and the prayer and the blessings being spoken over you. And it's really neat. I really don't understand it. I can only just kind of go back to how I feel when I listen to other people's music and I have a spiritual encounter listening to their music. Now the same thing's being done to my music. I'm able to go through this encounter and record it into a CD, give it out, and then other people's worlds are blown. Like they just had a spiritual encounter, their life course changed by listening to what was encoded, the wisdom, the knowledge, and just the experience, the tangible presence there that's within the music. And it's really interesting how we're able to do that. We're able to record it. People can listen to this back later. I've been a part of prayer sessions online where we say out prayers and blessings, and somebody will watch it 2 years later and they'll leave a comment and say, oh, I'm in tears watching this. I'm glad I found it. It's been 2 years. It's encoded within the audio, within the sound. So it's a really beautiful how we're able to do that and capture the emotion, capture the spiritual awakening, and hand it out. And if it's for you, if you're ready, it will take you on that journey. It's so beautiful.
Well, let me go back to the quantity idea. Here's an idea all across the ancient globe was that, again, we have the frequencies in front of us. We know the math, read my books and stuff, but you create this beautiful spiritual music. So we have the tool. The question is, how do we get it out to more people, and how potent is it? How strong? And so what they would do is that they would feel that each person has the capacity to love. And so if they were going to have a chorus, for example, in the Hebrew temple, their orchestra was like 4,000 musicians. I mean, like, woo!
Yeah.
I mean, I live in a town that's smaller than that. And the deal was that if each one felt love and connected to the divine and pulled down some of this higher spiritual awareness, then the impact would be felt by the population. It would be go into the ground. It would affect people walking later. That it's like they're creating like a bubble of love. The Hindu mantras, when they're attributes of God. So let's say we're singing a mantra and it's on, let's say, mercy. So we're the people singing a mercy. And so you have people 3,000 years ago singing this beautiful song that makes you feel like mercy. And then they put like mercy in it with each time it's sung, and it's passed. And it's like, it starts out like a little snowball. And each time people listen and have this beautiful spiritual experience, they kind of like exchange energy. It's like you leave a droplet of the blessing you got, you leave it right in that music. And then it continues to go on. And the ancient concept was to spread the blessing, to spread the music, to spread the joy. And when you listen to it, to allow it to make you feel whatever love, joy, whatever you want, and like add it to this like timeless snowball that goes into the future and affects more and more and more. And of course, the bigger it gets, the more overwhelming is the love and the joy to kind of awaken or induce somebody to let down their guard and just open up.
In a positive way. That's awesome. Whenever you talk about like all the mystics or the musicians gathering together to all play music in unison, it's funny because this is like stuff that was done in ancient times. In the West, a lot of this stuff is new. When we talk about incorporating the Fibonacci sequence into the music, there was a band called Tool. They did that with their song Lateralis, amazing song, where it's just not just on that 4 count, up 2, ready, go. Just, you know, that simple 4 count. They go back, and you would think that playing this long type of rhythm, but it eventually comes back. You would think you would get lost in it, but it does line up, and if it's done correctly, it can take you on an experience with it or what it connecting. But back to understanding, like, all of these musicians coming together, they've been doing it recently. They'll rent out a stadium or like a football field or something, and have thousands of musicians show up, and they all learn how to play a song by, I think one of the ones they did was Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana from the 90s, and they'll all gather in the stadium, and there's like hundreds of guitarists, hundreds of drummers, and they'll all play in unison. You have thousands of people all playing this one song together, and and people are crying, people are emotional, like, man, we all connected over this song and what this person contributed to us who's not with us anymore, but it's just kind of meeting in honor of that person, in honor of that song. It's so beautiful. And seeing like the group meditations where they're doing mass meditations, everyone is meeting up, or even doing it online, global meditations, global CE5 contact initiatives, where we're all getting up at this time. This is what we're putting out there. We're going to set the intention. We're going to connect. In the evangelical Christian circles, they have this thing called The Call, head up by Lou Engle, and they rent out massive stadiums and say, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pray. We're going to petition God that if we all come together with this in mind, that we can create change in our communities, in our lives personally, if we all come together and agree with that. So the really cool thing is that when you look at it, there is change that's happening. Like, crime rate has dropped in cities and stuff, where all these people are meeting and spreading this positive information and bringing love and unity. Crime rate is one of the biggest things that is actually measurable, that drops whenever you do something like that. That's beautiful.
Just one little quick story. I was in Estonia, and that's a country kind of close to Finland, Russia, and Germany. Very tiny, has 1 million people. And I met this lady, Mara, and she told me that her grandparents had been slaves, and that their people were enslaved by the Russians, the Tsars, and they were very, very cruel. And she told me these horrible stories. But anyway, they were broken. And so when the Tsar was killed, they were broken, and they couldn't stand up and get their freedom. But because they were in such a far reach of Europe, the Inquisition coming from Rome, starting from Rome, coming from the Catholic Church, had just barely been there. The old ways were still kind of passed on. They weren't forgotten. They weren't stomped out. Didn't have enough time for the Inquisition to have that effect. So they had what you're talking about. They brought out of their 1 million people, they brought 500,000 together. And not only did they sing, they all sang in unison, but they did so 24/7 for 5 days. So they took your idea and then they expanded it more over a longer period of time, getting 500,000, and they got their freedom.
That's awesome.
Then in Germany, World War II, I don't even remember if Germany just kind of like ate up Poland. And so kind of the world let Russia kind of eat up some of these Latvian countries, and Estonia was one. And they talked about how they did like a Russian roulette and would pick out who got to go to the death camps up in Siberia. And it was terrifying. And then in the middle of the war, Germany owned half, Russia owned the others, and they had to go fight each other. So you had fathers killing sons. Anyway, it was just horrible, and they were broken again. At the fall of World War II, they were unable to say we're free. They were a mess. And again, they came together and they did the Song Fest. And they were able to change the backbone of the entire nation and gain the freedom. And today, every 5 years, they have the Song Fest. And what a cool idea. Again, it's quantity. It's like, we've got the tools. Now let's just implement it more completely.
Yeah, it makes me think of there's a church, a ministry called it's called IHOP, which is International House of Prayer, and they have this thing that they've kind of coined, which is 24-hour prayer. They have prayer rooms dedicated where they have people in there 24 hours a day. They have a schedule. Okay, when you leave, this person comes, and we're going to have continuous prayer, whether it's praying for our nation or praying for this or that. That's what they're doing there 24 hours. But they also have the music thing as well. They do 24-hour worship where they have bands and worship leaders and people playing music. I mean, 2, 3 in the morning while most people are asleep, these people are offering praises to God and connecting on that level. And it's just a really cool idea to have that 24-hour prayer and to line it up and do it. But it seems so innovative, like all of this stuff. Let's get 1,000 people together to play this song. Let's do 24-hour prayer, 24-hour worship. Like, this is ancient stuff, you know what I'm saying? We're just kind of going back to what the ancients were doing and what was working for them, what they believed to work, and we're trying to implement it now. And if it's done right, we're like revolutionary, but it's just copying something that already worked. That some reason, the Dark Ages, I don't know what, but we've forgotten a lot of this ancient science when it comes to music and spirituality. And so to see people incorporate it, I mean, I'm doing it in hip hop, something totally different, you know, but to see people go back to the ethers through prayer, through studying or whatever, grab this idea and bring it back and make it modern, you know, introduce it to a new generation, a new era of people who have never heard of that. Maybe, their grandparents, nobody's heard of that. And it's a new idea that's making healing tangible, whether it's through connecting through music or through prayer or whatever the ancient practice is of drumming. And so that's what I try to do. I study syncretism to study like all the religions and seeing how they all connect and how they all claim to have exclusivity to this one idea, whether it's the Christians speaking in tongues or playing the fast beats where they're falling out in the spirit. Like, this has been done by the other traditions like the Bacchus and things like that over the years, going into trance, receiving prophecies for people, you know. And it's so cool to see it preserved even in Christianity, where you would think a lot of that stuff is taboo, and it is by many sects and denominations, but to see people still holding on to that ancient fire that's still there, man, it's so beautiful to me.
Yeah. Here's another thought, just to add another idea, is you find this in England with the Druids. They would do sacred geometry on the land. So they would do power places where it feels good. Think to Machu Picchu, or places where people go to have a spiritual enlightenment experience. And they would map them. And then they would often use like a grid-like formula or your sacred geometry in selecting locations across their country. So in England, you'll find, I believe they have like 10 different, you'll find the archaeology remains of all these different chapels. And they're going to create sacred geometry. They're going to be on underground waterways so that they're going to connect energetically. And when they feel good, the idea was that there was some electromagnetic, they wouldn't use that term, but some type of current between them. And so then they would not only do the 24/7, but let's say they're protecting all of England, then they're going to do 24/7 around these sacred geometry spots that tie into nature waterways. The idea of then using the great number of people singing 24/7 and then tying it to water and to rivers and to underground rivers and to like lava flows or ways to take this powerful music and then like lattice the globe with the healing energy, to think of the healing earthwide and the kind of the engineless song. How beautiful is that?
Yeah, that's awesome. Connecting with the meridians of the earth, almost with the different energy points in the underground waterways, and how our body's made up of water. I mean, I think it's the same thing. We've done like the studies from who was it, Dr. Emoto's rice experiment. We tried it at home. I did it with my family, speaking the positive affirmations over the rice and the water mixed together and seeing it change. It literally changed. Speaking positive affirmations and speaking death and curses over the other. And over a 30-day period, the results were there. The one we spoke death over, it looked disgusting. It was molding and nasty. We wanted to get it out the house. The other one was fine. It just kind of did the natural process of fermenting. There was no mold on it. It was like almost like you could still cook it and eat it. So in understanding our body, we're, what is it, 70% water, and so it's the same thing. We're speaking blessings over ourselves and positive affirmations of sound and things coming forth, and that's another thing to tie in with just the whole lyrics and the things we're speaking over ourselves with the music. We look at the majority of what's out there, like in pop culture right now. It's all just like this negative music and speaking curses and all kind of stuff over yourself and promoting these type of lifestyles and speaking that over themselves. People say, well, I just listen because I like the music. I don't even care what they're saying. But these people are speaking all types of nonsense and stuff within the music. And there was something that you said before we went live. You said that people eventually become their music. Like you're eventually going to embody that, where I mentioned repetition reduces resistance, or when it's spoken over you for so long, you begin to let your guard down and believe it. We see like the story of the Pied Piper, who comes into the town and plays the flute and gets all the mice to follow him with the power of his flute out of the city, and he takes them out. Then he comes back for payment, and the people don't want to pay him, so he plays the flute, and he has the power over music. He understands it, and he takes their children from them as payment, and it's the power that that we have. And it's been said, I've heard it been said that that the hip hop artists and the rappers are the philosophers of our generation. This is who the people go to. This is who the masses listen to, the new hit song on the radio, and they have power to bring forth peace and change and love and unity, or confusion and chaos and things like that. So it's really powerful when it comes to music on a practical level that affects anybody. You don't have to get into the esoteric makeup and breakdown. Just by simply listening to this music over and over, it's affecting you in some shape or form.
Absolutely. Amen.
So we had a bunch of comments when you mentioned your book and some of that stuff. A lot of people already mentioned that they want to go check that out. They want to make sure that we plug that at the end of the show. So I appreciate you for coming on, and I really enjoyed this episode. I love talking about music and spirituality and how it all connects together. So thank you, Jill, for hanging out with me. If you want to plug your books again, name those ones again that you mentioned, because people want those by name, and let people know where they can go get them. And I'll have all that information in the links here, but we'll just hear it one more time.
All right. Thank you. JillsWingsOfLight.com. I have all kinds of free samples of my music. If you sign up for my list on the homepage, videos, articles, etc. And if you sign up for my list, I have about 400 messages about every 3 weeks on healing with sound. My books, Ancient Sounds, Modern Healing, a great primer to changing your world with sound. How to use sound for altering your thoughts, altering your feelings, altering your body. Starts out with the Hindu master, that it's akin to an ascended master on earth who uses sound to heal. And it kind of goes start using sound as a vibration on every level for your benefit. Secret Sounds, Ultimate Healing. It's a little bit more of a walk in the park. It's the work of bioacoustics related to Sherry Edwards. And it's looking at the frequencies in your body, the mathematics of the frequencies, and healing tones. And then in the back part, I go into Ascended Master teachings on how to change how people respond to you with your voice. You can, it's a very powerful tool. So I go a lot of, in this Secret Sounds book in the back part, on ancient use of your voice is a miracle. Then The Last Race of Time, and I won a bunch of awards on this one, took me 30 years. This starts with with legends and channelings and information emerging recently from South and Central and South America, on Lemurian Atlantis and their music. And then I go into Sumeria, the first written history we have. And they're using music for star tones, for altering their life by tuning to the heavens, literally, physically. And I have a CD that I copied from their thoughts. Then it goes into ancient Egypt that used music for everything. And ancient China, Lao Tzu, they're controlling they're policing their countries with sound. Going into Greece and the Hindus and all around the globe. And what I found was, we talked about white light, but I found like they would center on a musical note. And so the Chinese would primarily learn lessons of green. They tuned to green. The Hindus were tuning to red, or that red orange that the Dalai Lamas and masters wear over there in India. And their complementary colors of balance. And how, as time ruled on, these different cultures changed. They changed their music, and their music changed them. And their music over time went through the rainbow colors. So as time unfolded, you have music in red and orange and yellow and green. And so we have all these lessons and examples of mastery and challenges and struggles and learning and improvement in each color, in each emotion, in each physicality, in the achievements of each country. And so it just, and you can use a lot of them in your daily life. So it's, again, opening up this paradigm changing kind of thought of we are the children that are following the Pied Piper.
We are the children being led out of the city, out of darkness. Good stuff, Jill. I thank you so much for coming on, man. It just, we could go for hours, and we'll definitely have to do it again. Especially, you talked about your new book that's going to be coming out in about a year or so. So I definitely want to have you back on whenever that's available. So I appreciate you, and you have a lot of good comments here in the chat, and people are definitely going to head on over to your website and check out your work. Thanks for coming on again, Jill.
Thank you. Bless you.
All right, goodbye. All right, Jill Mattson, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that y'all go to her website, support her work, and if you go to YouTube, type in her name. She's got a bunch of lectures. She's been doing this a long time, man. She's really well versed in her stuff, and she's got a lot of good information, man. Really good stuff. Someone says, let's see, talking about putting the being able to transmit vibrations and thoughts in the way that you speak, and your voice and inflection. And so Felix is saying saying that even her words, I think it was Felix who said that it explains why he feels calm when she speaks. And she studied that, right? She studied the language of speech and music and voice inflection and tone. So that's really cool that you just feel that. And you know, most people wouldn't know that unless she said it, but she's kind of giving you the secrets there about not being monotone. And I think I'm bad about that a lot of times, just being monotone. But it's really powerful, man. It's really beautiful when it comes down to the science of voice inflection and speaking and communicating an idea, having a thought, and then sending it out. When you speak or when you create the music, right, you're able to lock it in, which is a beautiful idea we explored. But it kind of goes to show you about social media. Like, many of us have, like, you know, the whole thing is new. Like, how do we discuss with people over the internet about maybe friends or people, discuss issues that are really near and dear to our heart, and we're doing it in chat form and status updates and commenting back and forth one another. I've lost really close friends because of social media and not being able to them, you know, asking a question or leaving a statement, and they interpret it because of where they are or who they think you are. They think it is like you're condemning or lashing out, and you're simply just asking a question. Like, when you read that status, if you're going back and forth with people and somebody says, you know, who gave you the right to say that? How was that done? Like, if you was to post that. And so, do you really want to know who gave me the right? Like, how did I come to the knowledge of that? Are you being genuine? Or is it done, who gave you the right to say that? You know what I'm saying? So voice inflection plays a big role in communicating. And so social media, like I said, I know plenty of people because we deal with religion and spirituality. You see people come and go all the time through status updates and replies and comments. Trust me, it's insane. So I try not to engage in discourse back and forth through text message or social media comments, just because I've done it in the past and I've seen where it's landed. And a lot of people I know who are combative on social media, I won't be their friends on social media just because I enjoy our friendship and I want to be friends in real life. So I'll say, you know what, I'm not going to add you on there. I know you're combative. I know you're always right. I know you already have the truth. You're not here to learn. You're here to teach. You know what I'm saying? So these people, when it comes to voice inflection and communicating over the internet, it's a whole new realm, and this is new for all of us. We're all learning, so a lot of it I won't even engage in, and I have to check myself because I try to go back with one-liners and stuff, and people, you don't know how these people are taking your comments. So there's etiquette there when it comes to communicating via social media and text messages and being able to do it or not. So check yourself, people. Give a quick shout out to Tiger King. Just sent me a donation here on Snapchat, live on the air. Not Snapchat, Super Chat, or live on the air. Thank you for the generous donation, my friend. I appreciate you and every one of you guys who support my work and believe in it and help me out to keep this stuff coming. Jill was supposed to be on yesterday, but she had a close friend of hers passed, so she had to go to a funeral. So we had her on today, and then tomorrow we're going to have another show. We have Brian Godawa will be back with us in a really good episode about understanding the end times biblically, and we have a very similar view, so it's going to be a good one. And so he writes fiction books about the end time, about people like a bystander who was there and their story of navigating through the death of Christ and the apocalypse and the tribulation and all of this stuff happening. So he writes fiction books about that, but it's still kept in that frame of all of this stuff happen. So someone who's watched the apocalypse happen or watched the second coming of Christ or whatever the case is. So we're going to get into some of that. I really enjoy speaking about that, and I think that's an idea that's growing, that the majority of the book of Revelations or the Bible has already happened. I think there's that idea is growing with a lot of people. So it's really cool to discuss it. I know that the mainstream Christianity is going to hold on to their whole narrative that none of that's happened yet, or maybe some of it's happened, but to look at Revelation as a revealing of what has already happened and what was to come and what came. You know what I'm saying? It came, and Jesus gave out certain statements and prophecies about the fact that the end was nigh and we're at the end, and get ready, and you guys, this generation, all of you, you're not going to die until you see all of this stuff I'm telling you fulfilled. So really going down that rabbit hole when it comes to biblical end times and the end of the world, and everybody's, this is the end, here is the Christ, whatever. So really, really cool idea to explore from that understanding that the majority, if not all of it, has already happened. Really. And you can prove it biblically, and you can prove it through history. So it's really interesting. I really like it. So that'll be tomorrow. Brian Godawa. If you haven't heard the previous interview we did, make sure you go back and listen to that. So we'll probably be picking up where we left off, and he's got a new book. So that'll be good stuff. That was funny. We're talking about the story of the Pied Piper there at the end, and she said, "We are the children being led out of the sea." We are the children. They come through and they're playing the music, and we're following the notes, and to whatever sound that you listen to, whatever frequency you're following. Jesus said, "My sheep know my voice. They know my tone. They know my expression. And a stranger's voice they will not follow." So that's really interesting, man, how it all ties back to sound and hearing the voice and tuning into the frequency. And I was going to go into a little bit of detail with her about the green light beings of the order of Melchizedek, which is broken down to the order of the green light beings. And so, and everybody has a different breakdown about Melchizedek, but when it comes to understanding the green light, I was wondering, like, finding out the tone that correlates with green light? What note is that correlates with green? The green light beings, of listening to that note, having that color around you. Like, I can change this light in the back and have it green, and I used to have like little green glowing lights up on my desk and stuff like that while I was doing it, to remind me about the green light beings, and being approached by Melchizedek himself in the state of meditation. And many believe in the Egyptian mysteries that the only way that you are to be initiated into the order of the green light of the Meldekian priesthood is if Melchizedek approaches you within those astral realms himself. And I've had that happen. I don't know if you guys have ever had that experience of just going in and connecting, and then the green light beings show up and they scan you and they communicate and they impart really beautiful mystical encounters of the silhouettes of the green light beings, or stargazing and seeing the green lights, or good stuff. Egyptian mysteries, Melchizedek, the green light beings. The 432, we talked about that on here. The 432, where you can feel it. You can actually listen to music. Tool is a good one to listen to. There, you can go to YouTube, and there's people who have retuned whole albums or songs into the 432 frequency, and it makes you feel different when you change the frequency of that song. Even if it's a sad, depressing song sung in a higher octave, you can feel it. Like, your body can literally feel it. And talking about feeling it with your body, I thought it was really cool, talking about the chill bumps, and like when you feel the Holy Spirit, or you get that inspiration. Man, like, I get chills listening to your music. Like, that's the repair of the DNA. It's this sensation, your body's responding to the repair and to the frequency that you need. You feel better. It gives you a boost when you feel that energy, that euphoria that comes. It makes you feel better. That's really cool. It makes you feel good. So, talking about the 432, and a lot of people say, okay, TruthSeekah, is your music in 432? Or why isn't it if it's not? And it's not in 432. I've tried to tune my music to 432. Maybe I'll try again. But when I did it, the songs that I tuned in 432, and you can actually do this for you guys who want to try it. You could do it with Audacity as a free program. You put your music in there and change it. There's apps on your phone that is a music player app that automatically changes it to 432 frequency. Just the app, really cool stuff. But I didn't do mine because I tried it and it messes with the tone too much. Like, it makes the pitches of certain things go up that probably shouldn't go up, whether it's a tick on a hi-hat, the ticks in the music, so them being at the right pitch. But if you raise the pitch, they just sound really, it doesn't sound good converted. But there's certain songs, I guess, that you can do it and you can feel it, and certain songs, I guess, where it doesn't work. Maybe I'll try it again and see how it sounds. But yeah, check out apps and stuff that do that, and just go to YouTube and type in your favorite. I mean, I've seen Alanis Morissette and all kind of stuff, 432, that people are just retuning their favorite music and re-uploading it. Chris Garner says, have you read Manly P. Hall's Melchizedek and the Mystery of Fire? I haven't. I have it, but haven't gotten to read it. Yep, I've read that. Really good read. It's a short read too. I like how those pamphlets and stuff are really short. I've got to get into some more reading here soon. I've got a bunch of ancient stuff by Manly P. Hall that's you can't find anymore, and I've got it, and I need to get into it. Stuff on dreams, some old dream pamphlets that he put out, and or books. It's not like a paper book. It's really delicate book. So I've got some stuff I have to get into with that. Tiger King just posted a scripture. I'm going to look that up just to see what it is. Ezekiel 25:17. Let's read it. I guess, wow, it's a okay. Okay, that's Samuel L. Jackson quoted that. And they will know that my name is the Lord. Chris Barr says, yes, she got some good books. So, yeah, man, I've really enjoyed this. I hope you guys did too. Judging by the comments, this is going to be a good interview. And we created it. Spoke into it. We blessed it. It didn't exist until We scheduled it. We showed up. We did the energy, the alchemy. You guys showed up. You guys were a part of it. I mentioned a lot of you guys. I mentioned your names. You guys contributed, and it will be forever locked into this episode that we all shared together. All of you guys listening as well. Like, we created this together, guys. It's so beautiful. This show, podcast wouldn't exist without you. Without your help, without your support through Patreon, through your donations, things like that, I wouldn't be able to do this. But to understand that you play a part in this, it isn't just TruthSeekahs podcast that you guys are just watching. Like, if you guys don't show up, if you guys don't get it, then it's for naught, just for fun or entertainment purposes. And I don't think that it is. I think that it has a deeper meaning and has the ability to move people and change their life and put them on a positive course, man. What the Bible calls a highway to holiness. Put you on the highway to holiness, man. Put you on that right path that you need to be on. I'm not an expert on a lot of things that I talk about. Like, I can't, like, I have my things that I'm good at, but I like to throw these ideas out there. And so I seen a meme. I think Renee Ruiz, a good friend of mine, shared it out, and it said, like, blessed are the teachers that give that simply who don't force their opinion on you, but simply show you where to look. And I think that's a big thing with my music, is that I touch on so many concepts and bring so much to the table that whatever jumps out at you, it's between you and God if you pursue that thing. We could be talking about astral projection. We could be talking about healing. We could be talking about Jesus. We could be talking about Melchizedek, the starships, Orion, whatever it is. There's so much within spirituality and esoteric mysticism, Christianity, esoteric Christianity, whatever you want to call it, man. Whatever sticks out to you is between you and your God if you're going to pursue it, you know? It's the beautiful thing. So to have guests on here like Jill Mattson, she's a legend, man. That lady is awesome. There's no way I could do justice of 30 plus years of research that she has. She's been doing this for a long time. So to bring that to the table as we break down music together, is beautiful, you know? So I throw those ideas out there. And so as you go back and listen to some of the past episodes of these people who are experts on it, there's no way you could be an expert on everything. There's no way that you have the time, you know. I don't think 30 years cuts it, you know what I'm saying? And so for people who claim to have the truth or claim to have the only way, or this is the right way, or this is the, you know, the way, or they say that every someone left a comment, and I'll address the comment. So someone said, okay, he said this is, and he left this on the Aaron Fowler interview. I'm going to read this. I already responded to him, but well, just as in a question. But this person said, this is a $64,000 question. It is, who decides what the little bit of truth is that is mixed into all teachings? The best lies are mixed with a little truth, bro. God is pure truth and cannot lie or be mixed with a lie. I guess I can agree with that. But who is the teacher? Who shares this God knowledge? Who shares the God truth? I think there's a little bit of that in all of us. There's no way, I don't care, any preacher or teacher, you go down the list, there's some really good ones. Paul Washer, I don't even, you know, Benny Hinn, whoever. It's like, even in the Reformed theology, there's so many teachers who claim to know God, who claim to have to be the end all on God. They're not. They're lying to you. So if we talk about, that's the lie. These people who present this truth and bring you a portion of the truth, these people cannot break down music like this sister just did today. These people who could tell you the way to Christ and the way to God and all this kind of stuff. There's many ways to God. The ancients believed that music was the way to God. There's many ways to healing. The ancients believed that music was the way to healing. Guess what? It is. King David believed that that music was the way to healing. Music was the way to God's heart. That you can serenade God with music. That you can lift up praises and adoration towards your Creator with music. Pythagoras believed it. So we have to be able to approach it. And syncretism lets us be able to look into all of this stuff and bring it back to your Bible. If you're a Berean, there's stuff that you're not going to get from T.D. Jakes. There's stuff that you're not going to get from Creflo Dollar. There's stuff that you're not going to get from your pastor who on the corner's church, the church you've been going to for 20 years. He ain't going to tell you. He don't know it. He hasn't known it. But if you have somebody who studied this for 30 years, somebody who studied that for 30 years, somebody who studied this for 30 years, somebody who's had an encounter here, we bring all of this stuff together. We all have a piece of the puzzle. And it's up to you between your walk with God, your discernment through the Holy Spirit. You have to be key. You have to do the work for yourself. Don't trust anything we say. You have to do your own work, your own research. And if it resonates with you, it resonates with you. If you've been listening this long, then something's there. And that's what you have to go after. Oh my God, we've been blessed with a guest in the chat room right now. A celebrity in his own right. Vinny Eastwood. What's up, my brother? Vinny Eastwood taking over the chat. Welcome to the stream, my brother. Love you, man. So that's what it's about. It's about finding the truth that resonates with you, what calls you. And if I go back to the music, he says it's 4:34 a.m. local time. You're just aimless. Vinny, if it's this time, he's in New Zealand. If you're just aimlessly tired browsing the internet. So I don't know if it's your morning or night yet, Vinny. I don't know if you've been up all night just scrolling Facebook, clicking on random stuff, ordering stuff on Amazon, or you're getting up early, starting your morning with some TruthSeekah. I don't know where you are. Okay, so you woke up stressing about editing video and got to be out of bed. Bro, I understand you have to, you have so many different stuff going on, but try to do that junk live streaming video, the video editing and the rendering, and your computer's locked up for 2 hours editing and stuff and all that. So it's the name of the game, video editing. We shot a video last night, so commissioned someone to do it so I don't have to edit it. There's pros and cons with that, being so creative and wanting to have the creative say so over your stuff, but bringing that to the table. So good stuff. Shout out to Vinny Eastwood. Make sure y'all listen to the episode that we did together. Also, go check out the episode that we did on his podcast or radio show as well. So there's some really good information passed on through there. So with that being said, man, it's all about finding your truth and what resonates with you. Like if the music thing resonates with you, pursue it. Astral travel, sleep paralysis. I mean, there's just so much. I mean, and you really can't do justice, the right amount of justice to really do it all. You're not going to be a master of it all, but you're going to have to find those things that stand out to you, the things that speak to you, where your calling is, where your expertise is. Psychology, you know what I'm saying? Astrotheology, hypnotherapy, all of this stuff plays a role, and I think we have to give it its due diligence and really spend the time that these topics deserve, man. These topics really deserve a lot of attention. There's people who like repeat things that I say as an expert, and they've never even explored it. They just take it and run with it. You know what I'm saying? So you have to try not to speak on it if you don't really know much about it. You know what I'm saying? And that's for discernment about what stuff you should get into. But if you're here, there's something for you, something of impartation through the speech, through the word. This is the alchemical practice. This is understanding how deep spirituality is in the midst of a simple conversation. We talk about this all the time. So with that being said, I'm going to say peace and shalom. I'm jumping off of this right now. Thank you guys for the support. If you want to support my work, again, head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. There you'll be able to support at any level of giving. Anything helps. Anything helps, man. So thank you guys who have been supporting there faithfully, and everybody who's just come on board. Thursday nights we have the School of the Mystics. You get access to that by becoming a patron as well. And you get to support cool people and be a part of a cool community. You guys are mentioning Discord in the chat right now. There's conversation. I've seen people conversating in our Discord chat and on the live stream on YouTube. So you guys are boss. This thing usually goes nonstop. There's people commenting on Discord. You want to be a part of the community? You can download it on your phone. You can have it on your computer while you're working. Join our Discord. Come hang out with us. No foolishness, no nonsense. You will be banned. But anybody who wants to bring love, positivity, and grow with the community, we're here on Discord as well. So with that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. I love you guys, and we will do it again tomorrow.
Your way so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine, so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah Podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.